He thought deeply as he guided Thella into a stable nook and took off her kit, with a promise to get her some food. Then, once done, he swiftly made his way back inside. No such unique silver hair anywhere in sight. Halt first walked up the stairwell and then down a creaking corridor until he found his room. He unlocked and opened an odd-looking rectangular, dark wooden door and entered. The room was small and pleasant, nothing more, nothing less. After placing his things on the floor beside his bed, including his coat, downstairs being warm enough to be able to do so, and his sword, the simple but strong cross handle, flashing in a moment as light stretched through a rectangular window to touch it, he exited and returned downstairs, a thick, black jumper upon his broad back. As he sat down on a wooden stool at the bar, Grant looked at him and asked, "Everything well?" "Yes, thank you again." "Just a nail for now, please." The dwarf stepped off his stepladder, and then a moment later he popped up above the bar once more, a tankard of ale in hand. He placed it down and Holt picked it up and took a drink. "Perfect." "Where have you come from, if you don't mind me asking?" asked the dwarf. "I was in the town Ney last," Holt answered. "Do you know where you are now?" "I do not." "Neil, though most people these days just call it Hut Village." The traveller nodded and was quiet for a moment, then he opened his mouth but hesitated before speaking. "You feel no need to answer this, really, but do you know anything about the woman who was sitting in that corner?" Holt gestured. "Silver hair, dark green cloak." "Honestly, I do not. I would very much like to, though. I do love a mysterious woman. My wife is still a puzzle to me." Holt chuckled. "Is she around?" he asked. "She's out, but you'll have the pleasure of meeting her later," Grant answered. "Any children?" Holt asked. "Fully grown, fully short adults now, and all in faraway places." Sadness flickered in the dwarf's blue eyes. "But as long as I have my lady, I'm a happy, lucky man," added Grant with a smile. "We'll pray that your happiness always stays," said Holt. "Thank you, sir. You are a good man, that I can already tell." Holt nodded in thanks and raised his tankard. "The fair lady is quite the looker, isn't she?" said Grant after a second of quiet. The traveller looked at him questioningly. "Silver hair," the dwarf expanded. "Ah, yes, she is indeed," answered Holt. "She arrived early this morning. She asked me if there was room in the stables, and then much time later she appeared again, ordered a drink, and went to sit in the corner. I don't even know her name," Grant explained. "A mystery indeed," Holt nodded. "Maybe she'll return this evening." "Maybe." For some reason, Holt doubted this very much. "Anyway," said Grant, "it'll be time for supper soon. Is there anything you're particularly craving?" "I would be happy with anything. Cook me up your favorite dish," said Holt. "I will do exactly that," the dwarf said with a grin. Minutes later, Grant's wife, Dilly, returned home and met Holt before Grant went off to prepare supper. Then a little later, with a small bag of treats, the traveller returned to his partner Thella. Holt, being the man he was, saw that a horse was missing. There was definitely another in the stables before. Maybe it is the woman's horse that has vanished. He felt strange, uneasy, unsure. After he had fed Thella the treats and said farewell, he journeyed away from the inn, which was called the Wandering Lamb, and began to look around the large village. His reason for doing this was half because he wanted to find the woman, though he knew he wouldn't, and half out of curiosity, for he enjoyed seeing these new, odd places. One of the first things that caught his attention was an old wizard dressed in deep, dark blue robes, sitting outside the arched front door of an average-sized stone-walled hut. Kids sat at his feet, watching him with wide eyes as he flicked his hands and spoke old, strange words, creating sparks of light, and out of those sparks came more. Then the sparks intertwined, softened, and flowed, beginning to take a form. In seconds, the beautiful head of a strong stag was floating above the children. Then suddenly, sparks flew out of its nose, and they jumped, and all began to laugh. Holt stood and watched for a little while longer. He met the wizard's eyes once, and they shared a smile. Then he moved on and quickly found himself prowling the markets which still stood. He walked, watching faces, listening to conversations, intrigued by folk and the way their strange minds worked, often so differently to his. It didn't take long for him to fall into a dreamy state, and when he awoke he realized that he must get back to the inn, for his food may be ready and waiting. He arrived in time, swiftly took a seat, and in a few moments began to eat. The meal was truly delicious, made of perfectly cooked hay bird meat, an odd-looking creature, and roast potatoes and the strange but delicious vegetables named furl. And of course, there were seasonings and gravy. Halt believed gravy to be one of the greatest inventions. Once Halt had devoured this meal, Grant quickly appeared by his side. The dwarf had been waiting. "How was that?" "Truly delicious. The best thing I've eaten in a very long time. Possibly the best thing I've ever eaten. I do not know your secret, but it already did taste heavenly." "Thank you, sir. That really means a lot." "Man," shouted Dilly from the bar. "Leave the fellow alone. Stop trying to feed your ego and get back here." Grant grinned, bowed, and went to his wife. Halt's horse having been seen to, the traveller journeyed onto the cobbles once more. It was getting dark now and colder. There was a peaceful atmosphere in the village. Halt wandered slowly around, weaving past hut after hut, just enjoying the fresh air and the peace. The wizard he had seen earlier suddenly appeared in front of him. "Hello, stranger. I saw you through my window. Would you like some company?" The long, grey-haired man asked. Halt chuckled a little. "I wouldn't mind some company," he said. "So where do you come from? Faraway lands?" asked the man with the twisted walking stick. "The town Ney is where I was last," Halt replied. The wizard nodded. "And where are your origins? In fact, tell me your name first." "Halt," said he with an amused smile. "And yours?" The old man stopped walking and stared at the traveller's face. "You don't look like a Halt," he decided after a moment, beginning to walk again. "I am There," he added. "Now where did you originate?" The traveller hesitated. "I was born in Helma." This is what he said to all who asked. Ah, Helma itself," the wizard said, thinking back. "A great city." "Indeed," said Halt. The old man tapped his twisted walking stick twice upon the cobbles at his feet and said, "That's enough walking for me." Halt thought surely not, for they hadn't gone far at all, but maybe the old fellow was more burdened than he looked. "It was intriguing to meet you," said There, shaking the man's hand. "And you," Halt replied with a smile. "Maybe I'll see you again." "Maybe." And the wizard returned to his front door, entered his home and took a seat upon an old rocking chair that was located near the fireplace, which was holding a hot and healthy orange fire. He didn't enjoy the company of liars. The traveller walked on, unaware of the fact he still had company. A good distance away, watching, following, was a young, dark-skinned, dark-haired boy named Telamo. He had seen when the raven had landed upon the stranger's shoulder and the woman in the inn had ran away. "The man looks a little scary. He's probably a bad man. I hope the woman is safe." The boy crept from hut to hut, watching curiously, a little drunk on adrenaline. Not many exciting things happened around here. He followed Halt all the way to the border of the village, where the dark stranger stopped and looked out, admiring the vast green and grey plain. "It is beautiful and quiet, cold and lonely, secretive and dark, mysterious and intriguing." Halt stood there for far too long. The boy got bored, adrenaline now having melted away. He returned home, and so he missed it when later another raven landed upon the man's shoulder. For a few moments the common man didn't notice. When he finally did, he cursed, snapping out of his dreamy state. "Bastard bird!" He hit the bird and it flew away, cursing back at him. "Damn it," he murmured, coming back to his senses. He looked around. It was far darker than he had realized. The village was silent. He fidgeted around. A feeling of unease swiftly entered and danced around his body. He felt the dark begin to cling. Go away, go away, go away," he murmured as he speedily made his way back to the inn.